Hi everyone. I'm here today as a one-off with a special guest. Dream guest on my podcast. I don't ever do guests anymore because that was a long time ago. However, this guest is very near and dear to my heart. Welcome, Vicky Chemist. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Vicky. That's it.
So I've known Vicky for a very long time, but we got really close over the last year and a half or so. And she's now flown out to Australia to come and stay with me for a few weeks. And we were just thinking, because literally every night, we'll be right, let's watch film, or let's do this, let's do that. And then we just end up talking for hours and hours and hours. And I was thinking, why don't we just record it? Because I feel like we're pretty insightful people. So
we like to think so.
We like to think so. So I asked Vicky, what she thought we should talk about. Also, by the way, we're at
a creek. Would you call it a creek?
Yeah, kind of. We're at Currumbin Rock Pools, if you want to look it up.
Rock pools.
But there's a lot of people around, so the audio quality probably isn't going to be top notch. But it never is, so you're probably used to that by now. So yeah, Vicky had an idea to talk about a topic. So I'm going to let her kind of lead in terms of the opener, and then we're just going to talk as we usually do, and you're going to listen.
You're going to listen. Forced against their will.
Buckle up.
We've both been having these thoughts, going through a bit of a period of change at the moment, both myself and Evie in our lives, in terms of mentally evolving, working on yourself, doing things for the better of you, not just because some trend on TikTok tells you to. And you realise you outgrow certain environments, certain people. I, speaking for myself, have definitely realised I noticed a big change in who I am happy to surround myself with. And then in terms of career-wise, what I'm not happy with, maybe that I thought I was fulfilled by something before, and now I've had a sort of questioning of, no, actually, I don't want that. And I think Evie's also had a similar experience, and it's just wanting to better yourself and then realising what does and doesn't align with you, and it can be quite scary. We've had our ups and downs. It's initially quite exciting, but we've both had points where it can drain you a bit, because you then realise aspects of your life that you thought were fine and moving in the right direction are actually holding you back, and change is uncomfortable, but I guess that's what you sort of forget when you go through it and you get excited to step into this new version of you.
Yeah, I think I had a really bad day yesterday with work and a few other factors, and I remember I was talking to Vicky about it, and I think one of the primary points that I felt I was getting frustrated with until I kind of had this realization was that I feel the main reason I was getting annoyed was because I felt I was doing everything right. I'm working on myself, I'm going to the gym, I'm prioritizing my health, I'm, doing everything that I should be doing. And I was why does it feel it's all falling apart? And then, I kind of maybe looked back on advice that I'd given other people, because I'm really good at giving advice, but sometimes taking it is not my strong suit. And I kind of thought about it in the sense of, maybe because I'm focusing so much on leveling up and doing all these things for myself, that old lifestyle, well, not old lifestyle because it's my current lifestyle, but the lifestyle that I was living and now is kind of a byproduct of my old habits, doesn't feel comfortable for me anymore, because when you grow, your circumstances are the last thing to change. We were saying that, your mental will change and your emotional awareness will change, even maybe your spiritual connection will change, your relationships will start to change. But your actual physical reality, your situation, is typically the last thing to change. And that can feel quite disjointed and, I don't know if this is even a word, but unsymbiotic. You feel maybe you're living in a body that doesn't align with your goals, or you're working in a job that doesn't align with your goals anymore. But I think it's specifically for me and Vicky, because we're such action-oriented people, I think we both want results now. And we want results like as quickly as possible. And I think we believe for ourselves that when our mindset's changed, everything else should just change around it. And maybe that's a bit of a learning curve for us.
100%. I mean, it's one of those things where I think I'm quite good at it, at being like, don't start talking about it until it's done. And I think we're both people that we won't get excited about or like go off and tell everyone that we're doing something until, or maybe just speaking for myself.
No, I would say I'm relatively similar.
I was like, I think you are, but I think you don't sort of tell people until something's done, because just knowing in your head, I mean, everyone can talk a big game of I want to do this and I don't like them.
There's like cockerels here. Is that what they're called? Cockerels?
They're
cockerels?
like, yeah.
They're like...
They look like they've got a ball sack on their head.
Ugly chickens. Please carry on.
Anyway, what was I saying? I think, a lot of people are easy to be like, I'm going to start doing this, I'm going to do this. And I think our generation specifically, it's all about the short term, like, gratification. You get excited and you get inspired for something, and then 24 hours later you've not done anything to actually action that. Yeah. And I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of that. But naturally, if you're not someone who's that way, which I'm not someone who gets excited and is like, I'm going to go and do this. If it's not realistic, I'm a very realistic person, and I won't act like something's done or happening until I've done that. Oh no, why is it coming towards? There's three of them.
The cockerels are attacking Vicky right now.
They're literally just minding their own business.
They are minding their business.
I'm just a bit funny with birds.
But it's actually funny because I think that's maybe one of our main differences, because I am so unrealistic. I'm such an unrealistic person.
I think it's good to be that way. I need to take a leaf out. Oh Christ, they're fighting. I need to take a leaf out of your book. I need to be more delusional.
Yeah.
And I think that's, we kind of balance each other out, I guess, in some ways.
Yes.
I definitely need to be a bit more delusional.
I think the thing with delusion is, like, I've lived my life in delusion forever. I just am the kind of person that I don't really see limits on things in that sense. And I feel like because of some of the experiences I've had, I kind of understand that things that might not seem, totally possible are possible. You just have to find a way to work around it, And I think for me, that's really helped me understand obstacles as the way that, like, spirituality has really taught me to view obstacles is, and this is the way that I always read for people if I'm giving them a reading, is behind an obstacle is something of gratification, which I know is like a really obvious point to make, but it's like getting over something you'll either learn something, be rewarded with something, gain something, or lose something. And sometimes that loss in itself is a gain. If you go through an obstacle, maybe that obstacle is realising that a certain relationship isn't aligned for you, or realising that a job isn't aligned for you, that is an obstacle, and losing that, the loss of that subject, is a personal gain, even though it might not seem like it. And I think that's where maybe a lot of change can be misconstrued as negative, because you see, I think I've had to rewire my brain to view change as always positive, which is really hard, especially like yesterday. I literally was like, I don't know what to do, everything's going wrong. And then Vicky was like, remember who the fuck you are, like, what are you on about? Like, so it's like, even though I am pretty delusional, I do obviously have these days where I'm like, but then I think because Vicky's so grounded in her approach, that kind of helps sometimes bring me back to reality, because I kind of expect opportunities to fall out of the sky most of the time. And they do for me quite readily, which is, I think, great, and I'm really grateful for that. But obviously it's like when opportunities aren't falling out of the sky, I'm like, nothing's working.
I think that's what we sort of spoke about as well, is like having that set up, but you also do you back
action.
You put action behind it, and you you know, people say to you, oh, you're so lucky this, but it's like, okay, but you have also set yourself up for that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think luck can happen to someone who is prepared for it as well. You can't just be someone who has a hope on something that you're taking no steps towards, or you're not aligning yourself up for that.
Do you know, I think a big thing I've actually made podcasts before about manifestation and stuff like that, and about how I think that I don't chase, I attract is terrible advice, and, you know, I think it's just spiritual bypassing. And I think a big thing, like, one of my friends always says to me, like, oh, you're so chilled out, and I'm like, but I'm stressed when I need to be stressed. Like, I stress myself out to get myself to the place where I can be chill. Like, for example, like, if I'm going on a holiday, I will, before I go, stress myself out learning about certain things, or like organising certain things, making sure my visas and all of that stuff is dealt with. So that when I get there, I don't have to worry about any of that. It's all done. I can just relax. But no one else sees that part. That's, I think, the hard thing when someone's like, oh, you've got it so easy, or everything comes, you know, you're so, like you were saying, so lucky. It's like, no, you just weren't there when I was like
putting in the hard work.
Yeah. And I think that's something that maybe applies, that I know you've said before about like how you think people perceive you as some way, and then when they meet you, actually speak to you, they're like, oh,
yeah,
you're not like what I thought you'd be like at all. And it's like, well, how about you stop being so judgmental? For a start.
That's definitely a common thing. I think both of us have had that.
Yeah.
I think when you only give away so much to someone, but you give enough away for people to think that they know you when they really don't know anything. And it's like, yeah, it's just so interesting how much people can form a perception of you on literally nothing. I think it's all about how our generation now just sees everything through social media. And if you're active on that, people assume that they know everything about you. It's like, no, you just know a picture I took of my matcha. Made me sound like a more basic bitch, but it's true. Like, what does that even say?
Yeah.
Oh, I like matcha. That's literally all the one opinion you can know of me. That's a testament to nothing else.
Yeah. And I think, like I was saying, I think that it might not have been you actually, but I was saying to someone recently about how I started doing moon stories like on Snapchat before they were on Spotify, because I felt like I had things to talk about, and low-key my friends were like, can you just like put it in a podcast and I'll listen to it later, because I can't listen to you ramble on for like 45 minutes about one subject. But like obviously when I started posting them, people started messaging me and being like, I never knew that you knew anything about this subject. And I was like, well, you never asked.
I mean, that's segueing into the fact of how we actually... So me and Evie have known each other for years, but I actually reached out to her about her podcast, about 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Probably maybe a little bit more, maybe about 2 years, let's say, because I thought we were quite different people. And then listening to her podcast, I was like, oh shit, you literally think the exact same way I do. My thoughts form the same way as yours. The tracks we go down in the way we think and talk is so similar, and everything you spoke about I just found so interesting, and I was like almost like finishing your sentence for you in my head.
Yeah. And
from that moment I was like, I just know we are gonna get on.
And it was funny as well because like obviously me and Vicky are very close friends, but we're like living together right now. Like she's literally staying in my room, and it's so funny because we'll be like sat down and then we'll both at the same time be like, right, let's go and do this, you know. And it's like our brains are so aligned, and it's crazy that if I hadn't made myself the platform to, I don't know, like make a podcast, we would never have known how similar we were. And I think maybe for anyone listening that maybe doesn't feel seen, or they feel like misrepresented or misunderstood, it's like maybe you just don't have the outlet where people are able to find you and connect with you. Because like for me, obviously, I've got my... Okay, Vicky just got attacked by a bird, for real this time.
Oh my god, it really landed on my head.
Obviously, I've got my podcast, which is for me like a really therapeutic form of, I don't know, like self-expression. And I know that when people listen to that, they see a side of me that maybe they wouldn't see if they met me on like a night out or like in a coffee shop. I don't know, whatever it is. But I think for a lot of people that feel, I know a lot of my friends that feel like that I think they're such multifaceted people, but they feel like their boss or their person they're seeing or their families like don't take them for who they are. They just take them for a version of themselves that it probably expired like years ago, you know. Like I've had this with my family members in the past where they've been like, I don't even know of an example, but they'll be like, oh, we know you're just like this. And I'm like, actually, I've worked really hard on undoing that trait in myself. And it sometimes can feel like a bit of a letdown when the people around you almost like refuse to acknowledge growth within you. Especially when maybe, like, I think me and Vicky are both very lucky that we have support systems that see us and understand us, and we have those close relationships. But I know a lot of people don't. And I think that must be hard in terms of wanting to do better for yourself, but your circle are only happy or comfortable with you in a version of yourself that isn't, you know, comfortable asserting boundaries or wanting change for yourself. Like I had friends in the past where, oh my God.
I'm sorry with that.
He's teasing us.
You're teasing
He's teasing
me.
us. The bird is teasing. I remember one of my old friends, she got really angry with me. This is so stupid. She got really angry with me when I started going on runs. She was like, oh, why do you want to do that? And I feel like a lot of it came down to projection, because she was insecure about the fact that she didn't want to like look after her physical self. And me wanting to better that kind of held a mirror up, in the sense of it highlighted parts of herself where she felt like she was lacking. But I feel like you need to have people around you that don't see those mirrors as triggers, and they see them as like Vicky, for example, right?
I don't like
she can fucking right. Vicky's really enthralled in this bird, so I'm just going to talk. But like Vicky is like a gym girl, right, through and through. I am not. Actually, yes, I am. I'm a muscle mummy.
Now.
I take creatine now, guys. But I feel like maybe me 4 or 5 years ago would have been like, not triggered by it, but been like, oh, could never be me. Like, oh, that's so superficial. Or, oh, whatever. Whereas realistically, that would have just been me projecting, because I was insecure that I wasn't as strong or had as much willpower to go to the gym and set that time aside for myself. But because I've worked on those elements for myself, I now see that as like we can go together, we can do this together, you know? But I don't know.
Sorry, I'm not contributing anything.
I'm like waiting for Vicky to chime in, because I don't want this to just be like a me episode of me talking.
If we move, I will chime back in, but
I don't think there's anywhere we can move.
On that bench?
Oh yeah, so Vicky actually wants to move to a bench that is 3 square feet away. Because that's gonna...
No, I don't like how it like came twice. Okay.
We did get like full on attacked by this. They have this thing in Australia called swooping season.
Yeah, that's why I'm scared.
So basically the birds here will like swoop on you.
Yeah, I don't want to be swooped.
We went to the beach the other day, and Vicky basically spent the whole time at the beach crying about the magpies. You weren't crying?
Magpies, they were seagulls.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it.
I've been attacked by a seagull before in England, okay? And, you know, they're all cunts, really. No matter where they are in the world. Okay, these ones didn't attack me, but they were getting very, very close. And you can't trust them. You can't. Okay. Bench?
Okay, we're going to relocate. You can come with us on the walk. Hopefully then we'll get some talking points. That are moving away from bird topics. Okay, we are now situated and sat down in a safe zone.
Okay, I feel more secure now. I feel less targeted. It was on higher ground, you know. It had the advantage, really. Okay, going back to the gym then. Yeah, I think it's funny because, do you know what I think? The gym's a bit of a tricky one at the minute, because I think a lot of people have started getting into the gym because it's like a thing to do. And not you, by the way, because Evie, I think your whole thing's been a health thing that you've started doing, and gradually, and like back home you started running and going on walks a lot every day, but I know some people that, I think you've got to do it for you and you only, otherwise it's not going to work out. And I've been someone that's gone to the gym since, the age of about 14. So it's not new to me. But yeah, it does, like, people do have a perception of you if you go to the gym, I think. And it's just like, I don't know, I think it's just one of those ones, like, who even cares? It's interesting, but yeah, you've got on the creatine now because Evie's becoming a muscle mummy.
I'm a gains girl.
I enjoy lifting weights because for me it's like, it's rewarding. Like recently a goal of mine was to get pull-ups and to be able to do like a few consecutively. And honestly, like when I actually first started being able to do them, I was like really happy about it, I can't lie. And it's just little goals that you set yourself. Why is that one attacking it? Okay, fine. Sorry, this is so distracting. But yeah, it's been good to train together and just like setting little goals. It is rewarding, especially with the gym. Sometimes you get into a rut of stuff, but it's such a big outlet for people as well, the gym, like mentally, not only physically, but definitely mentally. But it is different for everyone.
Yeah,
so.
Like yesterday I had such a bad day at work and I was like, I need to go and pick up some heavy things and put them down again. Whereas I think ordinarily I would have gone home and just been like, and just rotted away. And I think it's things like that where
it forces you out into a different space, and you're either like, you get the gym work done or you leave. Like, what's the point in being there if you're not gonna do something with it?
I think it's that thing of teaching your body almost like not like necessarily a different coping mechanism, but like maybe actually like it is a coping mechanism, and it is that thing of, you know,
physically moving. I think it's actually really undervalued. Like, physically moving your body rather than sitting and going home and having to cry about it. Like, a cry is always necessary sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But God, do you feel so much better by just getting out, getting in public and doing stuff like moving that weight with your body. And, you know, I always finish my workouts with an ab workout, right? Every session. And Evie has been introduced to them. But tell me you don't feel so good after it.
Yeah, I do. And I think, like, a big thing that I found, like, I started running, I went through a really bad friendship breakup about 2 years ago with a girl that was, like, you know, like a sister. Someone that you think is going to be in your life forever. And I remember I started running before we broke up, I guess. And I think metaphorically, me running was like my body's way of physically being like, run away from her, like run. Like I felt like I needed to literally escape, because if we're talking in terms of fight or flight responses, I am a flight always. Like my favorite thing to do is to leave. I love leaving. I love leaving anything, leaving jobs, leaving people, leaving places. Like in uni, if I had an argument with one of my housemates, I'd just go home for 2 weeks. Like I'm just a leaver. And I think running was my body's way of being like, okay, well, you physically, there's no way you can go right now. There's no way you can't leave anything. So if you just run, technically you're still running away, but you're not running away emotionally anymore. And I think it taught me, it was almost like ironic, because it's like, I know people say, like, I know a lot of boys say, like, when they get angry, they go to the gym because it's like the act of like fighting or like kickboxing, or like it gives them that aggression release. And I think a big part of emotion is understanding the cognitive response in terms of things will either be released mentally, verbally, or physically in any respect. You know, anything that you go through will be passed through your body through one of those mediums. And I think that's why a lot of people that don't do any of those things, because I know a lot of people that won't talk about their feelings, they won't even think about their feelings really, they'll just push it down, and they won't do anything physically, like go for a walk or go for a run or whatever it is. And that's when I think energetic blocks start to build up, and that's where psychosymptomatic it becomes psychosymptomatic. Like I've had people in my life that have developed illnesses, and only when they've left a certain setting or situation, those illnesses have completely gone away. And I think a lot can be said for how emotion is stored in your body. And I've spoken about this 100 times, so I'm not really looking to get into it, but I've definitely found that the act of physically moving an emotion through your body just makes you feel miles better. I think if you have a cry, you talk to someone about it, and then you go to the gym, you've basically done everything that you can do for your body to process an emotion.
And you feel productive about it. I think you then using it as motivation for stuff, you're like acknowledging it, you're realising like, look, I'm still here showing up for me. That's like a reinforcement, like positively on your body, to be like, look, the only person that's going to be here for me is me. I'm going to sit and put in the work for it. I think as well, like a point with the gym is like going back to health. It makes you look at so many other aspects of your life, because it's just one small thing that you're taking a step towards better health for yourself. And like people that go to the gym typically then start looking at their diet and are like, why am I eating shit if I'm working so well on my body? It's like the whole thing of abs are made in the kitchen. It's so true. And about 2 years ago, I have always gone to the gym. However, I've never like cared too much about what I'm putting into my body, because I'm then like, oh, well, I go to the gym so I can eat what I want. Just got attacked by a fly. I go to the gym so I can eat what I want. Whereas now, like, and I've been someone I've had a very bad immune system from a young age, been very ill quite a lot of times, nearly died, casual flex.
Me and you both, girl.
Yeah. But about 2 years ago, I started like actually then putting in so many different, just having the thought of being like, okay, I'm going to actually start eating better because I want to, not because I've just been told to. But you've got to do it for you. Like my parents, they'd always say, oh, you should eat a bit healthier, you should do this, I never ate but that bad, but I only ate really like carb heavy stuff, like pasta and whatnot. Nothing wrong with that. But then like now I definitely view it as like, what's fueling my body to give me energy? What's fueling my body to like help my health? And then like you notice the benefits of it massively. Like I don't get as ill as near enough as much. I can kick things quite quickly.
I thought you meant physically.
Yeah, punch kick. Yeah, that as well.
I was like, okay.
When men step to me in the gym, I can kick them. But like, it makes you look at a lot of aspects in your life if you're like focusing even on one part of your health. I think then it just like you start climbing upwards towards things that you're actually doing it for you rather than just the physical thing. It's very easy to be like, oh, I want to go to the gym to get a great body. Like, I mean, it's very easy to just keep being like having body dysmorphia when you go to the gym, because you're constantly chasing the whole like, I want to look bigger, I want to look better, I want to look fitter, I want to look leaner, I want to look this, da 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 da. However, like, I think winning is being healthy, like within, and it will show through. From when you're healthy within, it will show, it like radiates through you, and you can see that from the outside, and that genuinely has made me happier than any sort of gains, my ass being fat, whatever. Like, I'm much happier now. I'm like just healthier.
Do you know what I think a big part of it is, and this is maybe more in the mind, body, spirit sphere, gym obviously included in that, but less so much about the gym, it is the just willingness to do things. Like, I found this when I started running, that I noticed when I wasn't active for a few days, or if I was ill and I couldn't go out and do things, I started to feel stagnant. And back in my day when I was an avid weed smoker, I did nothing. Like, I really honestly did nothing. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I would love to, you know, smoke a bit of weed and go to the museum, or, you know, do things like that. But, like, I wasn't active. I wasn't driven. I wasn't like, okay, what am I doing today? Like, I'm excited for the day. It was like, you know, here's another day. And I didn't have that, like, okay, today I get to go out and try. And a big thing for me when I started running, because I'm very unathletic, honestly, like, I really am not an athletic girl, but it was when I started noticing I could run further. That was probably the first thing for me. It was like, I could run further. And it became this thing of, like, you start seeing growth. And I think when you start seeing results in something, in regards to anything, you know, this can be learning a new language, starting a new job, picking up a new skill, learning to fucking pogo stick. I don't know. It can be anything. Rogue, but true. Like, you may only be able to get on the pogo stick at first, but then before you know it, you're pogoing up and down the road. Like, but I think it's things like that where it's like, learning any skill is something that you're always doing for yourself. And I think the best people that I know in my life are always people that are doing something for themselves. And I've always found that it's always the people that aren't doing anything for themselves that have the most to say about what you're doing.
Facts.
And that's why I am quite a sensitive person. And I do let things get to me that people say about me or to me or whatever. But I always think that it's always the people that have something to say about you that never have anything to say about themselves.
Yeah,
like, critically.
A lot of the time they are just, like, pushing it back.
Yeah.
What's the word?
It's projection.
Projecting on you, yeah.
I don't find myself criticising anyone else about, unless, like, someone's done something to me, you know, unless I've been mistreated and I'm, like, venting about that. I very rarely find myself criticising anyone for something unless it directly affects me in a way. Because I just think, well, I have this at work a lot where I think, oh, that person was rude, and I'm like, oh, what a bitch. But then I think, I'm glad I've trained my brain in this way, and this is where I'm going onto the, like, whole mind, body, spirit thing, is I've, like, conditioned myself now to think, well, you know, they might have just, like, lost someone, or they might have just gone through something really traumatizing, or whatever. Their responses may not be the way that I would necessarily behave. But then I think about times where I've gone through something and maybe snapped at someone, or, you know, and that's where I think a lot of it comes with life experience. Because if I look at myself at 20 years old, I didn't have any of that knowledge that I have now about how to move through things, or how to deal with things, or how to work on yourself to stop feeling certain ways. And then I think
it's having a massive part of it is just having the self-awareness of it as well.
Yeah.
If you're someone who self-reflects a lot, I think that's a huge part of it. And I think is a really undervalued trait is someone being self-aware, because often you can't reason with someone at all if they don't see the way they're, if they don't look inwards. And I think that's something I value with the people around me, is they have that. And I kind of struggle to be around people that don't have any self-awareness, because you're always going to be losing the battle with them. It's always going to be the balls, you know, they're controlling it all. You always have to be cautious of, like, you never end up getting an equal. If you have an argument with them, for example, it's never like an equal mutual understanding. It's always,
it's win or lose.
There's always excuses for stuff, and there's always, oh, well, you're not understanding, like, them putting their point on you the whole time. And it's a bit like, well, yeah, just I think it's important to sit back and not let emotions, it's obviously easier said than done, but we've all got times when we're in the wrong, and no one wants to think that they're wrong, right? But just I think it's so important to sit back sometimes, look at yourself and be like, hold on, if this was turned round, or am I being a bit unreasonable here? I think being conscious of the way your words or actions can be perceived as well is very important, because you could not mean something at all by anything. You know, you do something or say something and you don't mean it that way, it's taken, but it's still been taken that way. And
yeah,
you know, I think it's something I've started doing is asking, okay, this has been taken that way. I mean, I didn't mean it that way. That's not the point though. Why has it been taken that way? Can we talk about this? You know, I think it's being considerate of people's feelings as well. Like, not sorry I made you feel that way, but it's like, oh shit, like, I've had a negative effect on your day. Like, I genuinely feel bad because I wouldn't want someone to feel that way.
Do you know, I think this is why one of my biggest things in life, and it's controversial, but is I don't believe in right or wrong. And this is on more of a micro scale. In terms of a macro scale, I definitely believe in, you know, good and bad and things like that. If you want to talk about politics and morals, I believe in good and bad. But in terms of more on an individualistic scale, I think right and wrong is something that is very, like, interpersonal. And I think there is, for me, Kingfisher over there. For me, there is much more weight in someone saying, I see you or I hear you, rather than just saying sorry. You know, and it's like, I think it's that thing of, you know, like you were just saying, you do something and it harms someone in some way. It's not about saying, well, I was wrong for saying that, because you might very much still stand by the point that you made and still think that point holds weight and value, but you can understand as an emotionally aware person that point wasn't helpful in the context that it was given, and that doesn't make it wrong, it doesn't make it right. And this is why I don't believe in right and wrong, and I think that right and wrong is so incredibly subjective, is that it's all about the perspective of the current environment, you know?
I think a lot of people tend to pass guilt as well.
Yeah.
Like, who's in the right? You're in the wrong, so da-da-da-da, like...
Yeah, if you're in the wrong, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, when it's like, come on now, that's not always...
That's very simple.
Yeah.
That's a very simplistic way to look at something, and I think that bypasses a lot of the complexities of communication and relationships, because two people can have done horrible things to each other. Why are they still friends? If they both technically did things wrong. It's more complex than that. Do you know what I mean?
And it's how you deal with situations as well. I think it's definitely like an age, or maybe, let's say, experience thing. Less than age, but you sort of realise over time. I don't know if you can hear that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they can.
Yeah. I think there's someone cutting down a tree. It's putting me... The thing is, right, I have ADHD, so when something is going on around me, my train of thought is absolutely lost. Like, poof, it's gone. Finally. We're in such a peaceful setting right now, and that is just like, oh no. I spoke too soon. We're back. I just looked at Evie like absolutely no thought.
I'm not gonna lie, guys.
Right
my
now.
brain's low-key switched off.
Okay, right.
Has your brain switched off?
Yeah. Should we end it for a minute? We may be back
I'm
with a
done.
part 2.
We can do another episode about another topic, but I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode, chaotic as it may be.
I think a key takeaway. I think treat people with grace. Give people grace and look inwards.
And go to the gym, you fat fuck. Bye, love you.
Bye.